There's so much commotion online. There's so much divide.
Oh, damn.
You're our resident beauty pageant expert. But what is happening? What is the problem?
Thank you for the question. Well, first of all, nah, bro, it's going off, eh? It's going off, man. I saw that video that you sent with the Tongan lady.
Yep.
She was like, "What? Shut up, Samoa!" or something.
Very angry.
Yeah,
very upset at Samoans.
Very angry at Samoans, and you know, I can see why though. I can see why, but this whole thing is so I was reading Jerry Brunt, who's one of the judges.
Yep.
I was reading what he was saying, and I was reading what the scrutineer was saying, and I was reading Global Samoa and all of that. So what happened was, after the interview, the scores were tied between Miss Samoa and Miss Tonga. And so they got the judges. There were 5 judges. They got the judges to vote on who they thought would win, just out of those 2. So after the scores were tied, and then 2 of the judges voted for Miss Tonga, and another 2 judges voted for Miss Samoa. And so the deciding vote came down to the head judge, which is a Samoan dude, you know. And the thing is, he's also the franchise owner for Miss Samoa, Miss Universe Samoa. So he's in amongst the whole Samoa pageantry, and you know, clearly that would be a conflict of interest, right? You know, right?
We're taking up too much space in the VAR.
Right, yeah, like the deciding vote between Miss Samoa and Miss Tonga, and you leave it to a Samoan judge who's also heavily involved in Samoan pageantry, who owns the Miss Universe Samoa franchise, right? Okay, I can see why people get angry at that. And we do this in rugby. We're so fucking angry about this in rugby. Yeah. We do not want Manu Samoa versus Wales to be refereed by a Welsh ref.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, even, and I spoke about this when I got suspended by World Rugby, but there are 2 things in law. There's the actual bias, so actually cheating. They find evidence that, yeah, you've been cheating. And then there's perceived bias, where you might not actually be biased at all. You're actually being very fair, but it's just a perception because they can see you do have a link, right?
Yeah.
And in law, that's a real thing. Like, people can get disqualified just on the perception that it looks unfair. Now, Jerry Brunt is a 20, 30-year senior lawyer.
Oh, wow.
He should be well aware of perceived bias.
Right.
He should be well aware of his position. And I think in that vote, when it came down to those 2 judges, to those 2 contestants, that the Tongan judge step out and the Samoan judge step out,
and then leave it to another.
And leave it to the other 3 judges.
Smart. Yeah, that makes sense.
And him as a senior lawyer, he should know about perceived bias. It's a real legal thing, yeah, right? Judges disqualify themselves. Now I'm pulling out. You can. It affects everything.
It's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do. We're not saying that you are biased, because that's actual bias. It's just a perception. Now, World Rugby's big on perception now. So they do not have a referee. Yeah, they do not have a referee from the country of one of the teams that are playing.
Good.
Okay, just out of the perception. Even though, look, I know Jerry's very professional. I know these referees are probably professional. Look, I'm doing my job. Yes, we understand. But it's just the perception. It just looks like they could be, you know, and it avoids all of that. It's easy. Instead of getting people angry, just get a different ref. You know what I mean? You got all these other countries to choose from with great referees. Put in a different ref from England or something. You know, not a Samoan ref and not a Welsh ref.
Yeah.
Okay, and so there were only 8 contestants, right? And it's really sad. So we find out that the Tongan judge voted for Miss Tonga. The Samoan judge voted for Samoa. You know what I mean? And so we got these other 3 judges, one from Vanuatu, one who's a Solomon Islander who lives in Philippines, and the other one is PNG, right?
Yeah.
So that means like 5 of the contestants are covered with their own judges. What about the other 3 contestants? Because we've seen that 2 of the judges voted for their contestant. Yeah. You know what I mean? So there's all of that now comes into play. I think what's happened is, and this is the other thing, like Moi Moana, right, last year's winner, who everyone, you know, says is probably the greatest of all time and all of that shit. Well, in Samoan circles they do. She got 40,000 votes in the People's Choice Award online. Miss Tonga got 130,000 this year. You know what I mean?
Crazy.
I think the top 3 all doubled Moana's amount, right? So
that's a good thing.
the interest in this one is massive. It's massive. So you can see why also the eyes and the critique is a lot more. And, you know, if you want these things to blow up, they start coming under scrutiny, like proper scrutiny. And I think that's what's happened now. Now, with the Tongan judge, she went, so apparently she went and told, like, sorry, according to this dude, she said, that's my niece. She said this and that, you know, and there was an accusation that Jerry, like, had the votes in his hand and he screwed up the paper and all of that stuff on his way to tell the MC who won. Okay, I don't believe any of that. The Solomon Island scrutineer, who's also a registered accountant.
What's a scrutineer?
So scrutineer only checks the marks.
Oh,
so you got your 5 judges, and then the marks will go to the scrutineer.
Right.
There were 2 in this case. The same thing, Miss Samuel pageants and all of that, and then they will check the marks, calculations and all of that. Sort of like a check, just a check, and then it goes to the MCs and that, and then they read it out. So the scrutineer said, and they explained what happened as well. They also said the scores were tied. 2 judges voted for Miss Samuel and Miss Tonga, and then Jerry had the final vote. And so they said no, there wasn't any of this. He took the paper and all of this stuff. And so now Jerry feels hard done by because he got stopped. There was a stop notice issued at the airport for him.
Yeah.
Right, and that was massive, right? But what they don't say is all five judges got the stop notice. Okay, it wasn't just him.
Yeah.
All right. So the other article will say it's him and the Vanuatu judge. Okay, but actually all 5 received a stop notice, but the Tongan judge and the PNG judge had already left. Okay, so there were 3 other judges who had to go through that. So it wasn't him. It wasn't targeting him. What it was is under Section 89 of the Immigration Act, I think, 2012 for Solomon Islands. It was merely for the police to conduct an investigation.
Right.
All right. So they needed to interview them all. And that's why they said, look, we're not arresting him. You know, we'll look after him and all of that. We just need their point of view. Yeah. Because the Solomon Islands government got involved and they're the major sponsor of the event. Okay, and so they made a statement about, as the main sponsor, we must be satisfied that this event is not marred by allegations of fraud and results are credible and obtained through a transparent process. So they just wanted to interview the judges because there were a lot of complaints. Yeah. And obviously when you see that the People's Choice Award winner had 3 times as many votes as Moana, who's seen as one of the most popular ever Miss South Pacific contestants, winners, you can see why there'll be a lot more complaints. But so Jerry has now gone back to Samoa, and it's things like this comment that he said. He goes, the reason why I voted for our girl.
Our girl.
Exactly. The reason why I voted for Kako Kenye is because that's word for word what he said. It's shit like that, man. Okay?
That already tells you that you're biased. Like, you know what I mean? Like, perception-wise, it's like the word, you're
that's
right.
in an interview. Go look at it. And why would he say those words? You know, our girl. Yeah. You know, because he's being interviewed by a Samoan journalist at the time. And he says, the reason why I voted for our girl, he says in the Samoan, it's because of her interview. He felt his interview was better. But it's shit like that when you say our girl, you're Samoan, you vote for the Samoan girl, and you know that the last 4 competitions, 3 of them have been won by Samoa, and the one they didn't win, they were runner-up. Okay? Now, come on. There's like 20 to 30 Pacific Islands and shit. Yeah. And Samoa's winning every one, and people go, yeah, but we've only won 9 out of the whole thing. Yeah, but recently, the last 4, 3 of them have been Samoan. Like, you know, there's all these other islands. And so when he said that, you know, he shouldn't have said that. He also then said, I am going to demand an apology from the Tongan government for libel and for all the verbal attacks.
Oh, he's playing the libel?
He's playing the libel. You know, Samoans and their law, this libel law that no one else in the world has. Bro, and I'm like, man, if I could do that, all the hate that I've received, all the abuse that me and my family received. You just get on with it.
You just turn into Tenzaus. I'm putting libel cases on all of you.
What a waste of time, man. And so I understand that, he would have gone through a lot of shit.
Yeah.
But he also should take some responsibility and not be claiming that he's just a victim. Because he is a senior lawyer and as a judge. Like, if you go read, and I read a lot of advice by judges in pageants who say you must declare that you know nothing about any of the contestants. So what they do is they get like designers and other people, right? Like, you shouldn't know these contestants. You shouldn't be involved in what they're involved in. But him, as a senior lawyer with a lot of experience, he's very prominent in Samoa. He should have known about perceived bias, and by accepting that and then getting the last vote, which is so going to be interpreted as, that's bullshit, that's so biased. He should know that that's what's probably going to happen, man. And the thing, see, Jerry is very prominent in Samoa. In Samoa, the professionals don't just do professional shit. So a lawyer is not just a lawyer. A lawyer will own a cafe, will own accommodation. Every single lawyer over there has multiple businesses. Every single doctor, accountant has multiple businesses. And Jerry as well. He owns the Aotearoa. You guys know the Aotearoa? Yeah. So he owns that. There's also a chef in it.
True.
Yeah, bro. So he's onto it. That's
very
why
talented man.
Yes, that's why he's a hard worker.
Yeah.
He's a hard worker. And
unfortunately, in this situation,
he is at fault, in my opinion. Like, he should have never put himself in that situation. And it's the worst look. The deciding vote. And he could be working with her in the future as well, because I think, I don't know if you can check, but I think he's got the Miss Samoa, what's her name, Heilani, the half Sri Lankan, the one who came second in Miss Global or Miss World. Yeah, so I think he's recruited her. A former, she was in the...
Heilani Karupu?
Yeah. So I think he's recruited her for the first Miss Universe Samoa. So she'll be representing. So he might recruit this girl. You know what I mean?
What do you mean, instead of our current Miss Samoa?
No, so... no, she is the current Miss Samoa now.
Right.
So Heilani is...
she's fire. Sorry. Carry on.
No, you carry on.
No, I'm fine. She's beautiful. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah. Oh God, that's just
sorry.
No. So
he might recruit her for...
No. So I think, can you just see who the Miss Universe Samoa is? So he owns a franchise. He's the director of it. Instead of having a pageant, he can just go up to...
It's Heilani.
Okay, it's her.
Yeah.
So he's gone up to her. Because of her success, Miss Samoa, she was runner-up in Miss South Pacific, and she came second in Miss Global. I think it's Miss Global. Yeah. And so he's approached her and asked her to be the first of to represent Miss Universe Samoa. Now it's come back. There were other in the past, and he's brought it back, and she's going to be the first one to bring it back. He might approach this girl,
right?
Okay, to do next year's one, right? So that's why the conflict of interest. You know what I mean? What if, he wants to give her the experience of representing the Pacific, more pageant experience, then I'll ask her to represent next year or whatever. You see, I mean, I'm not saying that's what could happen, but again, the perception, because he is the franchise owner and all of that for Miss Universe Samoa, there's a conflict of interest there.
Yeah.
And he, of all people, as a senior lawyer in Samoa, understands clearly what perceived bias is. Now you're seeing a massive popularity in this contest. Yeah. The numbers are huge, way more than last year. So now there's going to be more critical eyes. There's going to be more critical legal eyes who will understand concepts of perceived bias, actual bias, who will start asking these questions. Well, why did you put yourself in that position? Because the lawyers don't do that. The judges don't do that. If there's perceived bias, they disqualify themselves. He should have done the same now, because I'm watching, lawyers are watching, and we will ask that question. You should have taken yourself out, and you too, Miss Tonga, should have taken yourself out. Now, that might not even change the result. It could have been still 2-1 to Miss Samoa, and that's fine. But at least you don't get this shit.
Yeah.
You know, you don't get the fucking bickering and all this shit. And Solomon Islands government has come in, and Miss South Pacific coming to try and save the integrity of the whole competition. You know what I mean? Because if the perceived bias was dealt with before this whole thing, there would be nothing wrong here. There would be nothing wrong. And that's why in law they do that shit. They get rid of perceived bias because this will happen. But you know what? Things got to get worse to get better. And now that it's growing in popularity, this is the worst I reckon it'll get, because I don't think Miss Samoa's going to win for the next 3-4 years now. But, you know, I just don't think it's fair that he claims that he's solely the victim here, because he has a part to do with this as well. You know, and it's so messy what happened. But again, oh well, it's got to get worse before it gets better. Yeah. And everyone can see at what stage it is now, and then it can only get better from this, surely. You know, so it had to happen. It had to happen.
All things considering, two things kind of pop up. The first one is it's pretty cool how invested people are into this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, you know, I mean, it's a shitty situation, but for it to have so much hype and so much competitiveness, even from like our people, it's good to have this type of community, have these conversations. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The second thing is, what's the thing that gets better? Like, do you take out these judges? How do you create a sanctioning kind of body that is fair when you've got so many competitive nations, but you have to draw from your own islands?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how do you make it fair for everyone?
I think it could have been easily done. I think if you got 8 contestants, right?
Yeah.
You can get 5 judges from places not
from those
islands,
right?
You know, so if Samoa, Tonga, and Cook Islands are competing, don't get a Samoa, Tonga, Cook Island judge. You could have got one from Niue, could have got one from Guam, Tahiti, Micronesia, the Federation of Micronesia, is it? Yeah. Palau, Hawaii. There's heaps of places. You know, there's that option. And then there's an option which probably should have been the easiest. You can have your judges there, but when it comes to deciding the neck and neck, Tongan judge step out, Samoan judge step out.
Yeah, I think that's a better idea. Right?
Just to avoid that. But I think now, you know, they have to now respect the audience now. Yeah. You know, and respect their competition. It's popular. They've got a great product. They've got great content. Yep. Like, it's really popular. It's growing massively, and give it the respect that it deserves by dealing with issues of conflict of interest and all of that. Yeah. You know, perceived bias. I'm not saying he's biased. He's a very successful person. But I think that's what set everybody off. You know, Miss Tonga, they really rated their chances this year. She people's choice. I think she's a law grad, I think, as well. And they're all beautiful. They all spoke so well. Tonga hadn't won it in ages, you know. Even the judge was a former Miss Tonga. You know what I mean? So even that, you start, you know. So I think it's only going to get bigger. It's only going to come under more of a microscope, and people will ask questions. But
in the Samoa Observer, I think published yesterday, Miss Tonga says, "It's Litara's. I will never accept the crown," and that's probably off the controversy. But it sounds like they're all good, and that's probably the worst part of it. It takes away from them because they're the one that have done. Them and their teams have done all the hard work, and so now we're focused on this one guy.
Absolutely,
and it's like, it's important, but what about these girls?
Yeah, good point. But it's always like that. In the pageants, you know, Samoan ones, there's always something wrong in every single pageant. But the girls the girls are always so close. Yep. And this is always something that all the stakeholders, all the people involved in, because it's a lot of effort, you know, it's a lot of money, it's a lot of hard work that all their teams do. It always seems to be something that everybody else argues about. But when they go through this, because they're under so much pressure, they're going through it together.
Yeah.
You know, and so they're always so close with each other.